Hello everyone, we are Group 7, and our presentation is titled, Was Churchill's Black Dog a Curse or a Catalyst? And our presentation will be divided into the following three main parts. The first one is the introduction, and the second one is the psychoanalytic analysis, which is the core part of our presentation. And finally, the conclusion part, where we will summarize how his weakness transformed into his strength. To understand Winston Churchill, we must look at this paradox. On the one side, he was the public monument, which is the World War II leader as well as the symbol of resilience. But on the other side, he fought against his private struggle with what he called his black dog, which is his deep depression. And this brings us to the main mystery. How did the black dog become a source of his greatness? And why does mystery matter? Because it challenges the idea of a perfect leader. It shows that vulnerability can also be a source of power. And our approach to solve it is quite straightforward. We look at the roots, which is his emotionally cold childhood, and then we use the lens of Freud's psychosexual stages to connect his childhood to his personality that led to his future greatness. And we begin with the oral stage. As the biography by Cross in 1940 notes, Winston Churchill was born into an aristocratic family. As his family were very busy with work and political life, they hired a nanny called Elizabeth Ann Everest, just a few months after he was born. And during his childhood, Everest was practically took over all the roles that a mother normally played. And Churchill's mother was absent in his childhood, and his nanny was his primary caregiver. And according to Freud, inconsistent care in infancy can cause a fixation. If a baby can't get their emotional needs met through the feeding or being held or other oral behaviors, they'll start looking comfort from the outside sources. And over time, this pattern becomes part of their stable personality. And therefore, we infer that his emotional needs were not consistently met. This led to what we call an oral-dependent personality. He sought comfort and safety from external sources, especially through the verbal interactions. So, how is this fixation the key to our mystery? He transformed this need for oral comfort into his powerful voice. His inspiring wartime speeches were a form of sublimation. He used his voice to deal with his inner anxiety, and in doing so, he comforted and led the country. And now, let's look at the anal stage. This stage is about control and discipline. Again, drawing from the cross, Churchill was raised under strict discipline in the boarding school. According to Freud's theory, if toilet training is very strict, a child may grow into a person who values order and has a strong need for control. But on the other hand, if the toilet training is very lenient, it may lead to a more rebellious or impulsive personality. And Churchill's experiences might lead to his anal retentive personality. This means that he became a person who values order, structure, and self-control above all. The link to our mystery is quite clear. His anal retentive personality became his weapons. In the chaos of World War II, his need for the order and his incredible perseverance allowed him to stay firm in his strategy. He didn't act on impulse. So, his inner need for control became his power to control the situation of Britain.
Okay, thank you, Coco. And then we move to the phallic stage. So in this stage, Churchill undergoes the Oedipus complex. So in this case, the resolution requires the identification with the father. But as for Churchill, he just felt to gain his father's approval until his father's death. So this may lead to a partial fixation at this stage. So just to explain more about this, we need to look back to his childhood. So when he was just a little young boy, his mother is really emotional distant. So you can see the picture here is his mother, Jenny. So she's always been absent and go out for the social meetings and events. So once when little Churchill just want to seek for affection and comfort, Jenny, his mother, just pushed him away gently. And as for his father, Randolph, who is really cold and also critical, seeing such kind of the scenario, just caught the little Churchill as a spineless girl. So this may produce a kind of the deep sense of emotional deprivation and also produced an ambivalent relationship toward the power for Churchill, as he both liked to rebel of the authority but then at the same time really craved recognition from it. And this is also being appeared as his competitive personality in his adulthood. So just related back to our mystery, we can note how this transformation from depression to his greatness. So we can say that in his adulthood, he's going to fight the depression as it becomes a mirror of his fighting against the early helplessness. So in this case, turning his inner struggle into the leadership. And also, just beyond the political reason, defeating Hitler may be a kind of the symbolic resolution for his Oedipus complex, because in this case, Hitler is acting as an authoritarian father image, and by saving the mother, here's Britain. So himself, Churchill himself becomes the father of the nation. And then we move to the stage for the latency. So during this stage, the sexual urge is repressed, and any kind of academic or social setbacks may lead to the fixation. So in Churchill's case, when he was around 7, he undergoes a kind of the failure of failing the mathematics, and which is experience of being humiliated by his classmates, which made him feel really uncomfortable and also isolated, and fostering his deep reflection. This is why he developed a sense of intellectual fixation, finding emotional safety in reading such kind of the military literature. And also, this experience heightened his awareness of the darkness because it allowed him to just perceive threats like Hitler's nature more clearly than ordinary optimists. And as for his emerging coping mechanisms, this stage laid the foundation of the sublimation, as it helped him to transform the pain into creativity and control. So in his adulthood, he is likely to express through writing, painting, and several kinds of structured routines. Then we can just say that this the same coping habit that once is in childhood shame may become the tools that turn the darkness into the greatness. So, and then we move to the final stage. So as for Churchill, in this stage, it may become a sense of integration. As for the male side, he developed an overdeveloped superego, and he is really ambitious and seeking for the validation from his father, even after his father is dead, by following his the same path of the career of his father. And by defeating Hitler, he symbolically just reached a kind of Oedipus triumph. And as for the female side, they act as a representation of his whole emotional world. So by being with his mother and his nanny and also his wife, you can see the picture here. She is like the representation of his ultimate maternal stabilizer. And even with the Queen Elizabeth, she is a kind of providing the royal validation in crisis. So because all of these, he just reached integration of the libido and leadership, and turning his inner conflict into the constructive achievement. And then we finally we just can conclude that through our set out to resolve our mystery, central mystery here. So we know that by analyzing the psychosexual stages, we can know the transformation from weakness to his greatness. So the oral need for voice of him made him become the great orator, and the annual retentive love of the order made him become the unshakable leader. And also the competitive personality made him become the determined warrior. Then we can say that his greatest achievement was not to defeat his black dog, but is to harness its energy to lead. So here is the end of our presentation. Here's the references. Thank you.